Good evening and welcome to the Village Board meeting for the Village of Pleasantville. Today is Monday, October 8th. If you're watching live on Monday, October 8th, we encourage you to call in if you have comments or questions. Our call-in number is 914-769-1677. As always, you can watch us on Verizon or Optimum Cable TV, and within a few days you can pick up an on-demand webcast of this and past meetings at pctv76.org. Apologies for being a little bit late starting tonight. We had a work session to begin the evening on three different subjects. One was developing policies and community education about the issue of coyotes. The other, a review of pool operations from the past summer. And then lastly, a discussion about placing recycling cans downtown. That all ran a little longer than we expected. But let me just start by reporting that, as some of you know, we had an informational meeting about coyotes last Tuesday. That informational meeting is now up online and available for anyone who may not have seen it at pctv76.org. You can pick it up and watch all or parts of it, and I certainly would encourage folks who are interested in this subject to do so. The short recap of a longer story is that the village now has received a permit that was previously in the hands of a private homeowner to trap a coyote in the Westcora neighborhood that, in the eyes of Kevin Clark, the biologist from DEC and the permit agent for 7 counties, warranted trapping. So Eric Gressner, our police chief, has been in touch with his colleagues in Mount Pleasant because many of the areas where coyotes have been sighted, including this one, are near the borderline, and a trapper that has been used by Mount Pleasant has been engaged as well here in Pleasantville, and he has put some cameras out to see if he can identify what the behavior is and where the routes are. So what is certainly crystal clear from the meeting we had with Kevin Clark from the Department of Environmental Conservation, as well as what we already know about the reviews that have happened in other communities. Newcastle, for example, immediately to our north, had a long and extended review of these issues a few years back. One piece of this with certainty is that coyotes are abundant in Westchester and they're here to stay. So some piece of what we need to do is learn how to live with them and educate folks about steps they can take, not only to try to discourage coyotes from being in places we'd prefer them not to be, but also to make sure that their properties are not unattractive, don't have attractive elements that draw coyotes towards us. So that said, there will always be a piece of some need to be aware of coyotes that may start to act strangely, that may need to be have their behavior redefined through hazing, and encourage them to head elsewhere, and in probably rare occasions, circumstances where a coyote would warrant a permit being issued by DEC to have that coyote trapped. So awful lot more to be said about it. I encourage people who are interested in the subject to watch that meeting, but our discussion tonight among the board was to begin the process of putting together a policy that would help guide when we would take action, when we wouldn't, and perhaps even more importantly than that, put together an education program so that folks can be aware of what the issues are, what normal coyote behavior is, what steps they can take for all of the above reasons. So we intend to convene another community meeting like the one we had last week, probably in a month or so, and discussion to be determined about having a panel of folks that we find in the community who know a lot about coyotes, and there certainly are quite a few of them, so that we can extend the discussion and engage all of you in the question of what to do and when to do it, and perhaps most importantly, bring a point to the reality that there are coyotes among us, and the more we all know, the better off we all are. That's my coyote story. I have a bunch of other announcements to make, but rather than leave our speaker tonight hanging through all of this, since we've already kept him a little longer than originally planned, I invite Edward Echeverria from Danziger and Markov to report about the subjects which I'm sure you've all been waiting to hear about, GASB 45 and GASB 75. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Just for a little background, 10 years ago, the village, all they had to do as far as retiree medical reporting was concerned was just deal with the pay-as-you-go premium that you had to give for the current retirees. And back about 9-10 years ago, it was determined, the fact of the matter is there is a liability for this type of benefit, and since healthcare benefits, the premiums, they rise faster than inflation, the thought was to have something show up on the financial statements recognizing this liability along the way.
In other words, recognizing the amount we have promised to pay folks in post-retirement
Yes.
for their health benefits.
That's right, that's correct. So,
Just to be clear, not pension benefits, because when they retire, that becomes a state responsibility.
yes, that's correct. Yeah, this is retiree medical
Right.
solely. So, so over the last 9 years, the village has posted an expense each year, and it's now built up to a point of about, in total, just south of $10 million, which is a good thing that much has been funneled through. Now, what's going to happen is for fiscal 19, the GASB rules have changed, and what will end up happening now is, in general, what they want to have happen now is that the full accrued liability of the plan is ultimately going to be expensed. Okay.
So
and then-
just again to stop for folks who are listening, GASB is General Accounting Standards Board.
Yes,
So that's the entity that establishes the guidelines by which accountants do their work.
correct, yes.
For government entities, right? GASB?
Yes, it's very, yeah, cities, villages, towns, and also school districts. So what will end up happening next year, just to if you want to just refer to the report briefly, at the bottom of page 3, there's an item called net OPEB obligation. And that's the accumulation of the expense over the years that hasn't been paid by the village in terms of premiums. So if maybe there might have been, expenses might have been $2 million a year, and then for this particular year, there was $700,000 worth of premiums paid by the village for the retirees, for their piece of the coverage. So that difference between $2 million and $700,000 is $1.3 million, and basically what's happened is a bunch of $1.3 million have accumulated on the financials because that expense was not paid. And that accumulation is now $9.7 million. And the expense each year took into account both a 1-year measurement of liability plus an amortization of the past liability that existed. So where we're going with GASB 75 is that the whole liability now, no amortization, is going to ultimately hit the financials on the face in the balance sheet. These numbers have been in the report and in the audit each year in a footnote. So just to flip to page 2 of the report for a moment, there's an accrued liability number up in the top right-hand corner, $23 million. Okay. Right now you have $9.7 million that has been funneled through expense. So, but what will happen next year is something, and again, this happened with the pension plan as well several years ago under GASB 67 and 68. But what there's going to be is there's going to be a one-time adjustment to get the 9.7 up to like the 23 million. Again, these numbers were in your report and in your financial statements each year, but only in a footnote. But now this number, they want this one front and center.
With the goal of just making more prominent that the village, like all municipal entities, has made promises to retirees and to folks who have not yet retired but will, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And we're not generally establishing a fund to pay for that.
We're not reserving.
We're
for it.
paying it as we go.
That's correct. And the truth is, you don't have an option in New York
Right,
State.
we're not
Right,
allowed
you
to,
can't.
right.
Yeah, so,
It's an interesting kind of perverse rule, don't you think?
right. It is. And, there are some states do permit it. There's other states that could, have their plans really scaled down, like in Florida, for example, a number of plans. All they do, they have the plan open with the opportunity for the retiree to pay the full premium amount, 100%. So it's given them some opportunity to have coverage. Now this again goes back pre-Obamacare, because Obamacare had opened up a door to have some these types of things available. So, but there's, but that type of, the difference there is that they pick up the full boat, and the only thing that the retiree gets out of it really is the fact that they're paying a lower premium because you got these 25-year-olds, and then you have the retirees, and the premium averages out. If they had to go out and get it themselves, they'd get it based on a much higher premium because it would be all retirees in the pool. So, but that aside, but different states have different rules. New Jersey's another one that does not permit any pre-funding at all. So, but I've thought that the fact that this is the case, I've kind of gone through it in my head, and it seems to be it's kind of a good thing that you can't pre-fund the thing, because if pre-funding was available, at least for the time being, there'd be places that would just raise taxes. Okay, and say, okay, yeah, we're going to just give a generous benefit and charge the taxpayers. So it's forced New York municipalities to end up going back to the design end and seeing what they can do to scale it back there, and again, the village has definitely requires a contribution from the retirees toward their coverage, and I think that's changed over time and probably increased, which is not a surprise. So, but it's that direction of trying to contain costs, since you don't have it on this side, you have it over on the design end, and hopefully that's helped out to an extent. But anyway, after nine or so years, the government Accountant Standards Board has decided that, okay, now let's show the whole thing on there. And at least if it was 10 years ago, all of a sudden there would have been a $23 million hit right away from pay-as-you-go. So instead, you've got $10 million banked at least, and then this adjustment will be less. And again, there was a similar adjustment on the pension plan side several years ago. When the same type of reporting was adopted on the pension end. So, but the bottom line here is having being about $10 million liability on the financials right now, and to work off of from there.
So, all in, fair to say, this is simply an effort to shine light on the fact that there's a liability that municipalities are required to pay to fund on a pay-as-you-go basis, but to give some visibility to the scale of that commitment that has been made.
Yes. The fact
Right.
that having that visible on financials
Right.
is
Probably a good thing.
it is a good thing, that visibility,
Right.
absolutely.
But none of this, just to be clear to folks who may be listening, suggests that there's anything for us to do about it. It is simply that we're required to hire the likes of you, distinguished characters, to navigate the actuarial stuff and tell us what that number is likely to be.
Yes, we just try
Right.
to quantify it for you. And again, when there's bond issues and stuff, and you're comparing from one village to another, depending on the scale of the program, there may be something to compare between one group and
Right,
another.
it gives some sort of visibility into the relative, if you compare, say, the standing payroll to the outstanding post-retirement benefits, and a few other numbers at the same time, you start to get at least a very broad stroke sense of how generous the post-retirement benefits have been in a given community, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Right. And obviously, as is true for almost everybody, they were more generous in the past than they are now in tiers. Certainly happened on the state pension plan side, and has happened on the local contract negotiation side too. Perhaps baby steps, not giant leaps.
Yeah, but again, if you go back 25 years in the private sector, that's when companies were going to employees and say, hey, listen, now we got to get something from you.
Right.
And and the truth is, as far as retiree medical plans, like 90% of them are municipalities and school districts. Not very many in the private sector anymore. It's just not a competitive item, except at maybe some very, very high levels any longer. So the fact that all the municipalities have them, it's a competitive thing that remains in the picture for sure. So
Further with in the overall world, retirement age is getting older, but with a lot of the legacy contracts that exist in the government sector, opportunities to retire quite a bit before 65, before Medicare kicks in and all those things, add to the overall cost of these post-retirement benefits.
Right, yes. So,
Any questions, other guys?
I have questions. I have questions.
Go.
Not to dig really deeply into this, but a couple of quick things. On page 6, we have an AAL of 19.2 to 19.5 in the last 3 years, right? And then we jumped to the 23.14. Can you just, because I think it's important that people understand why that number, we were carrying the 19, and now we're jumping. Now that's just an actuarial change in the valuation of the future accrued but unreserved liability. Is that correct?
yes, that's right. And there was a couple things entailed there. One element is that you receive, the retirees receive their benefits through the Nice Ship Empire
Right.
program. And what GASB, and it was even beyond GASB, it was a really true actuarial environment. What was permitted at that point is to say, because Nice Ship charges both the same for whether you're retired or active for the coverage, your plan was deemed, and is still called community rated.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a term. And what happens though is when you have a community rated plan, they, up to a couple of years ago, they said, okay, fine, whatever the premium says, that's it. We're not going to lay on any extra layer of complexity to it. Because again, the truth of the matter is, if you have actives and retirees in a pool, and that whole pool for pre-Medicare, let's say costs $600 a month. The bottom line is, if you carved out the retirees
Right.
and you carved off the actives, basically, and the actives are younger on average, and the retirees are older. If you carved the two of them out, you might end up with 400 and 900.
900.
So under the community rated approach, though, it was allowed to just be 600 for everybody, and as a result, that was a bit of a subsidy, so to speak.
Right.
So, and from an accounting standpoint, well, that was ultimately changed a couple of years ago. That exception was eliminated. So now we have to go to, we have to carve it out and think of the retirees as the 900 now. So beefing and again, this is just pre-Medicare, so it's not a huge amounts of, like I'm describing there, it's a 50% increase, but regardless of the fact that the premiums are higher prior to Medicare, the liability of the whole plan, most of it is the post-65.
Right.
Because people going at it, retired 55, you get 10 years of whatever,
Right.
you could have 25 years after, even though it's at a lower premium.
So that 3.6 differential that we're just going to take as of 17 and going forward is because of this shift?
The
3.6 million between 19.5 and 23.1?
yes, that's a one-time
One time, all right,
adjustment.
good.
Yes, that's correct.
Then you guys used a 4.5% discount?
Yes.
right? Do you see that changing?
Well, here's the, under GASB 45.
Can you predict the future interest rate curve, please?
Yeah, well,
Other than that, we don't have
well,
any
yeah,
questions.
other than my crystal ball.
Right.
Come on,
But,
here's your
but
chance.
there's-
We're going to love it. We'll have you every month.
There's two elements. First of all, GASB 45 permitted to recognize basically long-term returns on fixed income investments. So historical and going forward, 4.5% was
Right.
a reasonable rate to use. GASB 75 now is changing from that long-term approach to more of a what's the current market looking like. Okay, so just to give you an example, I'm going back a month or two, but for a plan like this one that does not have an OPEB trust or anything, so you're not pre-funding it, the interest rate that would apply would be in the ballpark of 3.6 to 3.7%. It's basically a 20-year municipal bond high-grade index.
Right,
Okay, so, but that rate floats.
right.
And so we've been able to use 4.5 up to now every year. And I'll tell you, as of June 30th, the rate was 2.98.
I was just going to say, it's going the other way.
So I mean, now it's heading up, which is good. But it's amazing. The first bunch of school districts were stuck with this 2.98 rate for their first year under this thing. But next year will most likely reverse itself out, especially with the last rate hike. And
So we'll revisit that discount assumption every year.
yes, and it's and there's not really a lot of flexibility at all. It's really what that rate is reading at that
Right.
point in time. So.
Okay, and then my last quick question is, as it relates to, you mentioned the bond rating agencies and stuff like that, so as it relates to us and other things we have in mind, where does Pleasantville stack up? I'm sure everybody's having to deal with the same increase in disclosures in terms of the accrued but unreserved liability. Are we in the zone of, over-leveraged, under-leveraged? Is this type of change going to be something that we need to explain to bond rating agencies, or is there any impact there?
Well, I think that
I mean, they're all dealing with it, right?
Yeah,
Everybody.
the bond rating agencies will look at, they can look at these reports and these these audit reports and see a parallel. One thing is in New York State, nobody can pre-fund.
Right.
I mean,
So
if you're in
carrying-
Massachusetts, you're comparing a group that's pre-funding to one that isn't.
Right,
And
so
there you've
there's
got
that
a
differential.
clear,
So I guess what I'm
contrast.
trying to just do is get that number in context so that people that would be reading our financial statements understand that this doesn't mean that Pleasantville is any better or worse funded than your average village in the state of New York. This is somewhat typical for a village of our size.
I would say so, yes. And what I also come back to is the design, which in what I'm talking about here is how much the village subsidizes.
Right.
Okay, and as far as 100% scaling down on the individual, and then 50% potentially scaling down on the dependent,
Right.
is that's a pretty that you've done well getting to that place.
Good.
Okay, there are others, and again, if there are other places that do 100%.
Right.
In Florida, they pay nothing. Literally, all they give them is the blended. So, but I'd say that I see this is this I've seen this design in several, but often there's even more generous than,
Okay.
Than this. So I think that's a place to come back. You can feel good that your
That's in
design is
place.
in a pretty good place. If somebody else is just giving 100% of benefits, they'd be looking a little
Little
less so.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, sir, much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let me bounce back to some announcements. I already mentioned the Coyote discussion and the likelihood that we'll convene a new community meeting in a month or so to add some further information to the discussion as we work toward policy. Those who watch regularly know that the Community Choice Aggregation Program, by which many folks in Pleasantville are grouped into buying consortium and get their electricity through a competitively bid contract is about to come up. The contract was extended to the end of 2018. At the 20-month point, it had saved folks overall about $3 million and had also pushed quite a few folks who had been on a general so-called gray supply that is coming from whatever source it came to a green supply of energy developed through mostly wind power but also hydropower. So a number of good things have happened in the first contract period. I got an email just the other day from Sustainable Westchester indicating that the bids had been opened from potential ESCO suppliers, and the winning bidder remains the supplier we have right now, which is Constellation. Current contract for standard residential is 7.7 cents per kilowatt hour. The new price is 7.709, virtually the same. The green power under the current contract is 8 cents. It's going to go to 7.959, very minor decrease. Really interesting change on the commercial side. The current rate for small commercial contracts under the Sustainable Westchester program is 9.93 cents per kilowatt hour. That, for the new contract, will go to 7.7 cents, so a drop of 2.2 cents per hour. And the green commercial will go from 9.97 to 7.9. So really interesting notes that the gap in price between the standard mixed source of power and the all-green source is pretty small and actually got narrowed slightly in the new contract. All in, the rates are essentially flat, and as Sustainable Westchester notes, that means we go into 2019 with prices that are less than the average Con Ed prices from 2015. So I would have to say it's, I think, a program that has benefited Pleasantville and anyone who elected to stay in it. I would encourage folks to do the same. That's certainly what I will do. And congratulations to Sustainable Westchester for having gotten this program going and actually being able to expand it. So, as they note, the 100% renewable power supply is now this year going to be based entirely on New York hydropower as opposed to power that comes from other states. So that helps build renewable sources and renewable energy economies here in New York. So good stuff all the way around. Anybody who is interested in paying more attention to this, you can go to westchesterpower.org, and that's also a location where you can sign up if you're a Pleasantville resident and had not been in the program before, which would have meant that you opted out. But perhaps I would also encourage folks to take a look and opt up to the green energy source, which you can do right online if you had been at the standard source. So that's my shtick on Westchester Power, but really, I think, very good news. Farm market continues to rock and roll and will be outside until, I guess, the weekend before Thanksgiving. Folks who are interested in participating in the annual apple pie contest, you should go to the Pleasantville Farm Market website, pleasantvillefarmersmarket.org, and read about it. It's a hotly contested venture every year. And also a whole lot of fun, and there's a really nice gift basket for the winner. So as the farm market folks say it, Pleasantville, start your ovens. I attended last week a really nice event at Pace University, a ribbon cutting for their new career center in Patton House, a really impressive renovation of a building right in the center of campus. Beautiful interior space that has not only offices for the staff where they can meet with students in thinking about career planning, but also a couple of rooms with the electronics to allow students to do online or Skype interviews with potential employers, as well as a really nice meeting room and some meet and greet space, which will be used by employers who come to the PACE campus to interview PACE students for potential jobs. So a really nice event and a really impressive project by PACE. Congratulations to them. The folks at the recycling committee are running again the Spooktacular Halloween costume swap. That is this Saturday, the 15th, and the following Saturday, the 22nd, in the gazebo from 8:30 to 1. It's a great event every year. Bring gently used Halloween decorations and clean costumes. Go home something new for your home and kids, and other people pick up the things you may have left, and best of all, things that are not in the end chosen to go home with someone else get donated to Blythedale Children's Hospital to give them some stuff to make a happier event. So Saturday the 15th and the 22nd at the gazebo. There's also an advanced costume collection. You can drop stuff off at the rec center on Marble Avenue between October 3 and 14.
Mr. Mayor, I think it's the 13th and the 20th. I believe the 15th and 22nd are Mondays.
Thank you. I copied this right out of something presumably reliable. Okay, Shane has corrected the dates. That would be Saturday the 13th and Saturday the 20th. Okay, be there or be square. As we've announced before, the Pleasantville Music Festival next year will be the 15th annual, July 13, 2019. It is not too early to go into your paper or digital calendar and mark July 13, 2019 as the place to be for the musical center of the world, Pleasantville, New York. The folks at the community garden, which operates out of the garden in the St. John's side yard on Sunnyside, as well as other gardens that they use periodically, had a food collection at the Pleasantville Farm Market. They collected 876 pounds of fruits and vegetables. 503 pounds were paid for and donated by customers who dropped something off at the tent, and the remaining 373 pounds were donated by the farmers at the end of the farm market day. So that food was distributed through Hillside Food Outreach, A-Home Housing, and Neighbors Link, and is just one of the many benefits that we see from the amazing work going on at the Pleasantville Community Garden.
Agreed.
Ragamuffin Parade coming up. It's Halloween time. That's on Saturday, October 27. Gathering up at BRS at around 10, and I think 10:30, marching our way down to Memorial Plaza, where there will be all kinds of fun stuff going on. Another great day in the village of Pleasantville. I know for a fact that people come from far and wide, both to participate and to see that great scene of ghosts, ghouls, goblins, and Harry Potters walking down Bedford Road. So, and then lastly, our Pleasantville Volunteer Fire Department is having a fire prevention open house. That is this Sunday, October 14, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. They're going to be demonstrating all kinds of stuff, and it's an opportunity to not only get into the firehouse, see what all goes on there, hear about the latest techniques for fire prevention, but also have an opportunity to say thanks to the folks in the Volunteer Fire Department who run an amazing program and who get up in the middle of the night when folks like us are in need. So thanks to the Volunteer Fire Department, and I encourage folks to attend on Sunday, the 14th, between 10 and 2.
At the main firehouse.
Main firehouse. Anybody else?
No, sir.
Nothing?
You took mine.
Something?
I have a couple
Oh.
updates.
Oh, Tina Gambino,
yes.
yeah.
You go.
Go for it.
Well, I was just going to mention Marble Avenue is scheduled to be repaved October 19th, starting at 6 p.m. Weather permitting. That's been planned and pushed back a couple times because of the contractors' other obligations. This is Fire Safety Month. Just wanted to let everybody know. We should do a better job at every public meeting of pointing out the exits in the room. We've asked other boards to do the same. So
Okay.
just to do that. The New York City Department of Environmental Protection is planning their Catskill Aqueduct shutdown for 8 weeks beginning on October 28th. This is part of their big infrastructure project. Obviously, that infrastructure is over 100 years old and in need of repair for a long time. The Millwood Treatment Plant has been testing and refining another water source, and the issue there is they need to pump it up to the appropriate level. We've already been budgeting with the town and our water rates, so it should not have a fiscal impact to our water customers. And our water customers should not be impacted at all by this. But they are finally moving forward.
Okay.
Yep.
When were those 8 weeks again?
It's starting October 28th.
Okay. Are we going to visit them this fall?
We have sometimes had a joint meeting, has it typically been in the spring, hasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah. We'll
Well,
do
we've-
it when the time comes.
I thought we did it in the fall.
Yeah.
I'll touch
I
base.
feel
Let's check
like we
it out.
haven't done it for a little
Yeah.
while.
Okay.
I haven't done it yet.
Yeah,
Um,
it'd be good for us
It
to
would.
go.
So
Okay.
thank you, Shane, for reminding me that I forgot to call out the Tina Gambino 5K run walk. That takes place also on Saturday the 27th. That's in the morning before the Ragamuffin Parade. If you go to the event website, you can go to tinagambino.org. It gives the information and allows you to click into the registration. If you're interested in participating, it's a run walk and does not require anyone to be in enormously good shape. You can just walk the route, or if you feel like it, you can make a donation. My advice would be to stay away from the front because the people near the front are serious about winning. So, okay, anybody else? Joe, did you attend the drug and alcohol program meeting?
No, we had a meeting that night.
Yeah,
We had a
yeah,
meeting
yeah.
here that night.
Yes.
So that was 2 weeks ago, Monday night. So I couldn't make that meeting because I was at this meeting. But I'll be in touch with
The Pleasantville Strong folks. and-
yeah, Ms. Malgrinos and
Yeah.
get an update.
All right, I was mixed up on the schedule there. All right, anybody else have any announcements? If not, we will launch our way to the resolutions. Number 216, Nicole.
Almost there. All right. Resolved that the following budget amendments are hereby approved as listed below. Budget transfers from the contingent account to the music festival contractual account. That's part of the general fund in the amount of $15,570. In the refuse fund, $909 transferred from contingent to judgments and claims. In the general fund, $50,000 transferred to capital for Recreation Center at 2 Lake Street renovations. Also in the general fund, $30,390 revenue of music festival fees transferred to contractual music festival expenses. In the capital fund, the amount of $50,000 from an interfund transfer from the general fund, again for the Recreation Center renovations at 2 Lake Street.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. Steve, 217.
Resolved that the pre-check register dated October 8th, 2018, covering check numbers 91086 to 91265 is hereby approved as listed below. From the general fund, the water fund, the capital fund, the refuse fund, and the trust fund, a total of $376,933.06.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions on the check register? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Joe, 218.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees, based upon the recommendation of the village treasurer, hereby appoints Kristen Pungello, effective October 3rd, 2018, with a start date of October 9th, 2018, to the job title Office Assistant Financial Support, job title code number 0726-01, CSEA wage Schedule B, Group 6, Step 2, and 2018 at a salary of $57,864. Said appointment is subject to the probationary period of not less than 12 weeks to a maximum of 52 weeks.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We welcome Kristen to the team. 219, David.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the request from the Recreation Department to hold the annual Ragamuffin Parade on Bedford Road and Harvest Day Memorial Plaza on Saturday, October 27th, 2018 at 11 a.m., with a rain date scheduled for Sunday, October 28th, 2018, and further authorizes the police chief to post no parking signs in the Memorial Plaza parking lot in advance of the event and to tow all vehicles in violation of this temporary parking restriction.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any objection? All in favor?
Certainly not.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. A great day as reported. Plan your costume now. Nicole, 2:20.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the minutes from the village board meetings on September 5th, 2018 and September 24th, 2018.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or corrections to the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Steve, 2:21.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby adopts the village sexual harassment prevention policy as required by New York State guidelines effective October 9th, 2018.
Is there a second?
Second.
Eric, you want to just give the summary of this?
Sure. So the state has its 2018 Women's Agenda, and as part of that, the sexual harassment law regulation has been created and implemented. So not only governments, but all employers have to implement this by this month. So we're happy to do so. We have a model guideline that we're going to implement and move forward with.
Okay.
Excellent.
Great.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. 2:22, Joe.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby accepts the donation from Joan Krasinski to the Clinton Street Center in the amount of $200.
Is there a second?
Second.
Very much appreciated. Mrs. Krasinski's gift was in memory of Joan Vasallo, who recently passed away. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. David, 2:23.
Whereas pursuant to a lease agreement dated July 11th, 2001, AT&T, doing business as New Singular, leased certain defined space at 345 Castleton Street, Pleasantville, New York, lot attached, authoring is it authoring or authorizing? Authorizing AT&T to occupy the leased area for the purpose of operating a wireless telecommunications facility, and whereas AT&T seeks to expand its space within the existing enclosure so as to add a standby generator, and whereas AT&T appeared before the Pleasantville Planning Commission on September 12, 2018, and the Planning Commission voiced no objection to the proposal, and whereas AT&T has submitted an application to the Building Department for the required approvals, and in addition submitted a proposed amendment in draft seeking to modify the existing lease so as to expand the area leased to accommodate the new generator, and in exchange pay the village additional rent. Now therefore be it resolved that the proposed amendment to the lease between AT&T and the village is approved, subject to review and approval by the special counsel Turner & Turner, provided 1, the rent paid by AT&T is increased by not less than $150 per month, and 2, the existing fenced enclosure is not enlarged.
Is there a second?
Second.
Pretty self-explanatory. Anything to add to that?
No, AT&T did not have to go before the Planning Commission, but they, out of a sign of respect, did, and the Planning Commission had no objection.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. 2:24, Nicole.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village administrator to sign the agreement with Frederick P. Clark Associates Incorporated for a review of the traffic study conducted for Manville Road Corridor project for a fee of $1,800 plus hourly billing if attendance at meetings is required.
Is there a second?
Second.
So as you know, as we've discussed before, both in a public meeting and a work session, we have several parts of a traffic study done by Hudson Valley Engineering Associates, and some aspects of those have been challenged by folks who were interested in the question of whether they were covering a long enough period, whether it was enough days, enough hours, various elements that people were concerned about. We've been back and forth with Hudson Valley Engineering, and they have expanded on a couple of the points they've made, and also indicated that in their view the periods they covered were appropriate. Frederick P. Clark Associates is a longstanding planning firm and the one that our village has used as planning commission counsel for very many years for most of the subjects that come before it. We're proposing here to hire them to take a look at all of this and to either ratify the assertions made by HVEA about the scope of the project, or if they think there are areas that appear warranting further investigation, to do so. So we'll have the proposal letter behind this.
Is another traffic study envisioned as part of this 1,800?
No. What they're looking at right now is what's already been done and the connection of the numbers that we already have to the numbers that come from DOT about
synchro data.
the synchro data, as it's called, the traffic that exists in the environment around us. So they're looking, as you can see in the letter that's back up to this, to review that and say, yes, we also think, as HVEA does, that this is a reasonable explication of
And
what
sufficient.
may happen, right? Or, alternatively, no criticism intended, you might get further information by adding this, that, or the other thing.
It's essentially a peer review.
Thank you. And they will present this back to us, I assume?
Yes,
Okay.
and I should also mention they're looking at train traffic. They're going to look at Metro North's schedule and how many people are getting off at the train station and what that does to the traffic patterns
Do
here.
we know when they're going to be done with this? Did they give you any?
Probably within 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
As soon as we sign the contract.
Great.
Okay? All in favor? Aye. Motion approved. We're done with that. That's the last of our resolutions. Any new business to come up? Let me just mention, and we'll discuss it further in a work session, but I attended a seminar by PKF O'Connor Davies, the accounting firm that we use for our audit, last week, that they offered to Westchester officials on the SALT deduction cap. New York battles the IRS. A long version of a short story is that New York State, led by Governor Cuomo and locally by Amy Paulin, legislator Amy Paulin, has proposed a legal battle with the feds over the SALT deduction on several counts. And one of the things they have asked for is a contribution of $1,000 by entities that were willing to do it to contribute toward the legal challenge, which is, I think, mostly a pro bono effort. But at any rate, we can discuss that further in work session about whether the village wants to sign on to that $1,000 contribution or not. So meanwhile, can I have a motion to go into executive session on matters of real estate?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all. Appreciate your attention. We will be back at our next meeting, which is in 2 weeks, on Monday, October 22. Thank you and good night.